Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I am Luke Owen, working on a Saturday, and this is Wrestling News. As we covered in yesterday's WrestleTalk News, Bobby Roode was spotted in Detroit Rock City ahead of tonight's SummerSlam, with some speculating that this could lead to an in-ring return of the former NXT champ. But sadly, it would appear that is not the case. Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, is reporting that Roode will be at SummerSlam, but in a non-wrestling capacity. Roode will instead be working as a producer on the show, as well as Monday's Raw in Minneapolis. Now, this doesn't 100% mean that Roode is done with his in-ring career. However, he has undergone two different neck surgeries over the last year, getting a C5 and C6 fusion in November and a C4, C5 cervical fusion in May. And moving into a producer's role typically spells some sort of wrestling retirement, as we saw over the last couple of years with Jason Jordan. It would also mean that currently in WWE, Bobby Roode, Abyss, and PD Williams are working as producers, and Jeremy Borash is Tripp's right-hand man. TNA really did win in the end. But you better check your watches, because TikTok, it's Randy Orton return rumor o'clock. I mean, it wouldn't be a WWE pay-per-view in 2023 without rumors of a Randy Orton return, and SummerSlam is looking to be no different, as Mike Johnson is also reporting that Orton is in town for the show tonight. But before you get your Randy Orton foam fingers out to cheer his return, let's not forget Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select's report from this past Tuesday, which noted that Orton has not begun wrestling training for a return. In fact, doctors have actually advised him against doing that. In another update, SRS notes that I'm told by people close to Randy that he is nowhere near medically cleared to return at this point. And if there's a Randy Orton return rumor in the mill, you'd better believe that we can churn out a Bray Wyatt 1-2. But this one isn't quite like the other two, as Mike Johnson is reporting that WWE are being very, very careful about Wyatt's health, and as of right now, there is no indication that he's close to being cleared to return. Johnson also cleared up some rumors of Wyatt's absence being related to the return of Vince McMahon, following on from Eric Young quitting WWE before he'd even returned, as he didn't want to work under Vince, writing that he's been adamantly told by numerous sources this isn't the case. Lastly, on the SummerSlam rumor train, Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, also reported that Becky Lynch was in Detroit for the show, despite her match with Trish Stratus being pulled from the card because they need to make time for checks notes, pointless battle royals, and smegging Kid Rock performances, someone who no one has cared about since 2001. But Lynch herself has shot this down, posting a picture of herself on a beach with plenty of palm trees. Now, I get that humor is subjective, just look at the joke I made about Kid Rock. Some might argue that he was last relevant in 2004, but it would appear that very few people actually got Becky's joke about not being there because there aren't palm trees in Detroit. So SRS cleared this up on Fightful Select that Lynch is not in Detroit and is not planned to make the trip in. So that's all from me. It's now over to Tempest for this week's Rampage and SmackDown reviews.
I dropped the remote on the floor. I'm Tempest, and this is Rampage, baby. Start the clock. We open with the Hardys and Keith Lee beating the Butcher, the Blade, and Kip Sabian. This was a very fun opener as the Hardys sold and Keith made the hot tag before Jeff crushed Kip with a swanton so bad I don't know how his brain didn't come out of his ears, Mr. Potato Head style. The Young Bucks announced they're re-entering the tag division and they're challenged by the Hardys to a match on Dynamite. That is a rematch of one of my favorite matches ever in Ring of Honor. Anna Jay beat Sky Blue with Angelo Parker get on the apron, looking for a kiss on the cheek and getting a slap instead, distracting Sky Blue enough for Anna to lock in the Queenslayer for the win. Feels like Sky is taking a step backwards after, I don't know, feels like Sky is slipping back down the card after a good showing in the Owen Hart Cup. Chris Statlander does the greatest backstage promo of all time as she and Renee did the entire interview while Chris Stat squatted Renee. Chris Stat just became my new favorite wrestler. Swerve and AR Fox beat two enhancement talents, and I gotta tell you, I can tell that I'm gonna love this team. Their offense was incredibly fluid, and they've obviously got great chemistry. Good stuff. Johnny TV issues an open challenge to anybody who's ever been on TV, and Big Bill and Big Brian say they're gonna win the tag titles on Collision. Then we got our main event. Pardon me, then we got our incredible main event as the Blackpool Combat Club beat the Best Friends in the parking lot brawl. Come on, prompter, let's go a little bit faster. This was the best the BCC has looked in a while, and think of the ground that covers. Violent, sadistic, cunning, and they pulled out the biggest heel move possible in wrestling. They destroyed Sue's minivan. The horror. This was a very good Rampage. I don't know, I'm in the room by myself. I don't know if I did it in a minute, but I'm gonna say that I did watch Rampage. This is SummerSlam Go Home Show, baby. Sat, start the clock. I said sat, start the clock. There's no one in here. We open the show with the megastar himself, LA Knight. Yeah. It's just not the same. Knight cuts a promo, and I like that he gets time on the mic each show regardless of how much time he gets. Gives me Jericho and WCW vibes. Knight mocks his opponents in the Battle Royal before talking up his opponent for the night, Sheamus. It was better than I am making it sound. Knight then beat Sheamus, a huge win for the lad, in what became an impromptu lumberjack match when all the folks in the Battle Royal came down to ringside. Austin Theory blindsided Santos Escobar, leading to all the would-be lumberjacks brawling. Miz got cocky and got hit with Sheamus's clubbing forearms, but then Sheamus turned right into the BFT for the pin. This wasn't a great match. The lads fell off the top rope as they attempted probably a superplex, and the Lumberjacks became more of the focus as time went on, but a win for LA Knight is a win in my book. Backstage, the Brawling Brutes and the OC are yelling at each other for the brawl, and Adam Pearce tells them to settle it in the ring. Sheamus and AJ have a tense stare down, and I mean, that sounds like a fun match. Why is AJ still feuding with Karrion Kross? The light's not blue. I'm not changing it. The Brawling Brutes then took on the OC in a match that got very little reaction live, until its abrupt ending at the hands of the Street Profits, who hit the ring attacking both teams for the DQ. They were in suits, they hugged and posed with Bobby Lashley. I like this trio, I like it a lot. And I didn't miss their segment this week, huzzah! Charlotte Flair is on a yacht talking about, well, I'll let you guess. Did you say she's the queen? She's gonna win the title and become a 15-time champion? Well, congrats, I guess you watched this show too. Paul Heyman then joined us in the ring to give us a history of tribal combat. With Heyman's narration and interviews from Rikishi and the Wild Samoans, this was the exact thing I wanted to be included in this build. Top marks, WWE. Back in the ring, Heyman said that what happened to Jimmy Uso was not the fault of Roman Reigns, but of Jey Uso. However, what happens at SummerSlam will be solely the fault of Roman Reigns. Jey Uso comes out to say that at SummerSlam, he's gonna hit Roman with sticks and chairs and put him through tables, and then he gets interrupted by Solo Sikoa. Solo's rearing to go, but Jey says that Solo is his brother, and because of that, he will always forgive Solo. He says Roman and Heyman have been manipulating Solo, just like they did to Jey, and just as Heyman asks if Jey expects Solo to believe that, Solo gives a slow turn that stops Heyman in his tracks before eating a super kick. Solid segment, loved the video package more than anything on this show. Austin Theory says he's going to dedicate his match with Santos Escobar to Rey Mysterio. He then had a heatless match with Cameron Grimes, who took 95% of the match and then lost to Theory's ugly ass finish. Shocking that when they've done nothing at all with Cameron Grimes since his debut, that people don't care about him. Escobar distracted Theory at one point. No one cared about Austin Theory. The sky is blue. Asuka's upset about having a triple threat match at SummerSlam, but says she has a plan and that no one's ready for Asuka. Damage control is on the Grayson Waller effect, and I think my biggest pet peeve in wrestling these days is heel talk show segments. This is just Miz TV. Waller asked Io if she's gonna cash in at SummerSlam. Bayley says, we're not telling you. Spooky Shotzi's voice plays out and Bayley freaks out. Waller asks why she's so afraid, and then Shotzi's music played and the tank came out. Bayley sent Io to deal with it, but then Shotzi was in the ring with her new look, albeit a good new look. She tries to grab Bayley and shave her head as it's revealed Zelina Vega was in the tank. Why is she helping Shotzi? Do they have tag team amnesia too? Oh, the horror. This then led to Zelina Vega beating Io Sky. Actually, I think my biggest pet peeve in wrestling these days is WWE thinking that because someone has the Money in the Bank briefcase, they can be beaten like a dusty rug at spring cleaning, because I'm sorry, Zelina has no business beating Io here, even if it was by distraction. Bianca tells us she's gonna remind us all who she is at SummerSlam, and then we had our main event. Jey Uso beat Solo Sikoa in decisive fashion. They brawled on the outside, Solo applied a nerve hold, but finally Jey hit a spear and a splash and got the win. For as protected as Solo Sikoa had been up until his first loss, boy, he went down easy here. After the match, they had a short brawl as Jey hit Solo with a chair a few times and the show went off the air. I'll be honest, as a go-home show, not a lot of meat on this bone. The show is fine, I suppose, but only a small handful of segments actually built up SmackDown matches for the SummerSlam show. I love the Tribal Combat video package, but for a video package to be the highlight of the show, especially considering how much there is to work with between Jey and Roman, who wasn't even on the show, it just makes this episode of SmackDown a little underwhelming. This show gets a 2 out of 5. And that just about wraps things up from me. Before I go, make sure you go over to the WrestleTalk podcast channel and check out our exclusive interview with Jeff Jarrett. Luke Owen and Jeff Jarrett in the same room. Yes, we never thought possible, but it happened. Make sure to check that out and check out our SummerSlam coverage later today. I've been Tempest. Jam that jam.
The who's who, the VIP list that's going to be there. we were just chatting offline. I think Mr. Grealish, he needs a guitar shot. But no, I've heard folks literally from all walks of life, whether it's a wrestling fan,